Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Megan Hansen, Director of Alumni Relations. I just want to say thank you for joining us today for our Lunch and Learn series. I know that we're in uncertain times right now as we experience this national pandemic. I just want to say thank you to the essential workers, healthcare professionals, and first responders. As an alumni community, it's great that we're here for one another, and I hope that each one of you and your family members stay healthy and safe in the days ahead. A few reminders about the webinar today. So we are recording the webinar for posting for alums that couldn't join us. All participants are muted. After Tracey speaks, we'll answer as many questions as possible. We're going to use the Q&A feature for questions, so please post your question there and we'll read it at the end. Your questions are visible to the entire group. That's also the section where you can contact the office, so we're monitoring that. So if you're having technical difficulties or need assistance during the webinar, feel free to message us there. So today, I have the pleasure of introducing Tracey Levy, a 2006 Roger Williams University graduate. She'll be talking about tips for how to stay healthy during quarantine and beyond, and simple ways to maintain a healthy lifestyle. A little bit about Tracey. After failed diets and 10 years of professional unfulfillment, she left her career in sales and advertising to pursue a healthier, happier lifestyle as a high-energy food expert from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. She's the founder of Kale with a Side of Fries, a private practice that works with individuals, groups, and companies to transform their lives with small, meaningful steps that make health life balance accessible, manageable, and enjoyable. Tracey, thank you for being with us today and welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I'm going to share my screen now so you can see. Let's see. One second. It's giving me a little technical difficulty here. Saying I need to set something up. All right. I don't know if this is going to work. I may just have to tell you my tips this way. Let me just try one more thing. I'm so sorry. Here it is. Okay, now it should work. There we go. Okay, awesome. Okay, great. Thanks for joining. So this is going to be, I guess I can't control that as well. All right, there we go. I'm going to do it like this. Tech is not my thing. I'm a health coach. So like Megan said, thank you for the introduction. I'm a health and wellness coach. I have been in practice for 5.5 years after attending the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, as Megan said. After I just realized that I wanted to not only focus on the health for myself, but helping others achieve health in what I consider a really manageable and simple way. I like to say it's about hitting the easy button and, just creating lifelong habits that don't have to be so difficult or confusing. You're getting resources and information from so many different places. I like to really keep it simple. So for today, so that's a bit about me. So that's about me, what Megan shared. So we'll go here now. What we're going to cover today are tips for staying healthy in quarantine. So these are really strange times, uncertain times. Many of you, most of you probably are used to going to an office, or even when you've been in school, right? You're used to going places and being able to come back, eating out, eating at restaurants. Now you're home. What does that look like? How can you stay healthy when it's so easy to just overeat, binge, and not really know what to do to keep yourself on track, whatever that looks like for you. So I wanted to start with this little meme, because this has been going around the internet. Perhaps you've seen this, but it doesn't have to be like this, right? So it's sort of funny to joke about it and say, this is me on the left and this will be me, whenever this quarantine ends. But it certainly doesn't have to be like that. There are so many things that we can do that are simple, that can keep us sort of feeling grounded, feeling healthy, while still being able to indulge. My business, as Megan shared, is called Kale with a Side of Fries. And I like to say that's exactly who I am as a person and as a coach. So yes, I want you to have your kale. Yes, I want you to be healthy on one end, but also knowing that it's totally okay to indulge in French fries, in ice cream, in alcohol, all within moderation. And so when we practice moderation, that is really what can solidify these healthy habits. So today I'm going to give you 5 tips on exactly how to stay healthy and not become the person on the right. So tip number 1, you don't have to eat what your quarantine buddy is eating. So whoever you're living with, whether it's a spouse, a friend, a family member, you can control what you eat by ordering groceries and cooking. And even if you're ordering out from restaurants, you get to control what it is that you eat. It doesn't have to be the same thing. And I love to give the example that I'm married and my husband and I eat very, very differently. So oftentimes we'll make something, or I'll make something and then add something onto his that perhaps is a little bit unhealthier, perhaps is something that I may not want, but it keeps us eating somewhat the same thing. So we get to enjoy the meal together, but it doesn't mean that we have to eat exactly the same thing, so that I can still go to bed knowing, I ate what I wanted today. I didn't feel like I succumbed to somebody else's cravings, somebody else's choices. My choices keep me feeling happy and good and satisfied and healthy. So knowing what the right thing for your own body is, not necessarily eating exactly what someone else is eating. Tip number 2, this is a big one. I love this meme too. It's called quarantine coffee. It's just like normal coffee, but it has margarita in it and it's not coffee. You want to be mindful of alcohol consumption. This is a time where we're home so much more. You're not necessarily going out and grabbing a drink with a friend. Maybe you're having a Zoom call and you're drinking more than you would, or maybe you're an anxious person and so alcohol sort of helps to calm you and relax you. Instead of drinking a glass a night, perhaps you're having a bottle, whatever the case may be for you, wanting to just be mindful. So it's not that you shouldn't have it. It's being mindful of how much you're having, because the calories really do add up. And I will say, I'm not a calorie counter. I'm not a calorie person, but sugar and calories and alcohol are a place that add up in a sneaky way. You don't always notice that they're coming in. And then that's where some big negative impacts and shifts can happen in our bodies. Some of the healthier alcohol choices would be red wine, sticking to plain clear liquids, so vodka, tequila, gin, and just putting in maybe a little seltzer, a little bit of lemon or lime juice. Keep it really simple. When you start to add in the margarita mix, or you're adding in, cranberry juice, orange juice, that's when the sugar can be really sneaky. So just sort of being mindful of not only how much you're having, but exactly what you're having. Tip number 3. If you can plan your grocery shopping ahead of time and only buy what you want to have in the house. So this is a big one that I tell all of my clients, usually even prior to quarantine times, but certainly during these times. You want to be really, really conscious of what you're actually putting on your list and buying. Because when you're in the grocery store and you're walking down all the aisles, because I tend to do that, I go up and down, so you can get everything and make sure you don't miss something. But it's really easy then to be tempted by the cookies, the chips, the ice cream, the frozen pizza, anything that you might not normally keep in your fridge or your freezer or your pantry. This is a time where, we tend to go a little more wild. It's a little more fun. Oh, I'm not ordering out pizza. I'll just get some and keep it in my freezer. But once something's in your home, you're more likely to eat it. Right. And I have an example. I have a client who loves Caesar salad and loves the Caesar dressing. So she would buy these, these pre-made Caesar dressings. And then she would tell me that she actually didn't even like them, but because she had them in the house, she felt the need to finish them. And then she would go back and buy a different brand to try a different one. So the example really is there's a lot of things that you can replace. I'm a big fan of replacing unhealthy foods for healthier foods. So it's not that you can't have the Caesar dressing, but maybe you could make your own. There is a brand, there's a brand that I love actually called Primal Kitchen. They have a great healthy Caesar dressing. So that's a nice option too. So you don't have to give up the things that you love, but in fact, just maybe replace them with something that's a little bit healthier, a little bit more, less caloric, less filled with sugar, or other, trans fats, things that you really don't want to be putting in your body. But the real point of tip number 3 here is you just want to be really focused on what you bring into the house. So if you bring in a Caesar dressing that you know is really not healthy for you, are you the kind of person that's going to feel the need to finish that because you don't want to waste it? Especially in these times, right? I noticed that so many more people are being conscious of wasting food and supplies and all that, which is great, right? I think that's going to be a great habit change and effect that comes out of this. If we can look at some silver linings and some positive trends. But the negative then is if you're bringing things into the house that you shouldn't be having or you don't want to be having, that's a little tricky, right? Same goes for a pint of ice cream. If you just wanted a bite, well, now it's there, so I might as well finish it. And that's where, the unhealthy habits can add up. So being really mindful. So creating lists ahead of time, which goes right into tip number 4. So tip number 4 is all about meal planning. And see, all of these tips really go hand in hand. So if you're meal planning and you're being ahead of the game with what you're going to do at the grocery store, then hopefully you won't deviate too much. So meal planning is one of my favorite things. And this is a lifelong skill. This is not necessarily a quarantine or isolation type skill that I love people to learn, because it makes your life so much easier and also keeps you on track and can keep you from straying, like I was saying before about being in the grocery store. So if, depends on when, you place your orders for delivery or if you have to go to the store whenever you're going. So I like to tell people Saturday or Sunday is generally a good day to either go to the store or get your food delivered. So if that's the case, then on, say, a Saturday, you would start meal planning. So you would think, what's coming up in the week ahead? Now, of course, before and eventually after quarantine, you're going to be thinking about social events that you have, meals that you may have out with friends, meals that you just may want to pick up instead of, cooking for yourself. But during quarantine times, it's really, you're making most of your food most likely. I mean, definitely it's possible to get some food delivered and to go pick some things up, but I would say most of us are cooking much more than we're used to. So this is where meal planning can be really effective. So thinking about, what do you want to have? What do you want to make? So say you want to make, a big steak, right? One night, or steak for however many people are in your home. So do you want to get enough so that you can have some the next day and perhaps make a steak salad? That's where meal planning can come really in handy. So you know exactly how much of something you want to have. Also, that way your meal goes further the rest of the week. So maybe you have steak one night, the next day you have steak salad. Maybe if you have enough, you make steak and eggs on the third day, for breakfast or for brunch or something. So really stretching the food that you have by planning ahead and thinking about your meals in advance. So then, okay, if that's one dinner, one lunch, one breakfast, what are the other days that you're going to fill in for, for the vegetables that you're going to have, or the grains that you're going to include, or you're going to make pasta one night. Maybe pasta one night can translate into lunch the next 2 days, something like that. So planning ahead. And then this way, going back to tip number 3 with the grocery list, being really, really conscious of everything on your list. And that's all you're going to get. So you're going to have your list. It's going to be written out when you either go or when you're placing your order online. And then that's it. And that's what you get. And you don't deviate from that list. You don't go wild when you see the cookies, the candy, the ice cream. You stick to what you want. If you really want to get ice cream one week, then maybe the next time you place an order or that you go, you don't do that, right? It's all about the balance. That's the fries to the kale. So making sure that you are balancing what you're getting, so there's not constantly things in your fridge, your freezer, and your pantry that are tempting you. So that's the thing. You just want to be conscious of what comes into your home or the things you want to eat. And meal planning can be a really, really important part of that, so that you know exactly what you're going to plan to have. Also, it just saves you a ton of time. So if you guys are working full time, which I'm sure most of you are, you don't have time. You're not used to cooking yourself 3 meals a day. You're not used to doing all the dishes that you have to do. This is where meal planning can really come in handy, so that you're not doing extra work. Because if you're in the kitchen every single meal, cooking and cleaning up dishes, you won't have time for anything else, right? That's just, it's the unfortunate part of being home. But there's a really smarter and more effective way that we can do all of this. Meal prep. So this is where meal prep can coincide with meal planning. So say you go to the grocery store, you place your order, and orders are delivered on Saturday. I like to tell people then the next day, Sunday, can be your day to prep. So that's the day that you can make the steak, make your grains, chop up all your vegetables, get everything in order. My fridge is full of just glass Tupperware jars, so you can see everything. So you can see the grains, you can see the chopped up veggies, everything has a place. So then when I'm ready to create my meals, just throw everything together. It's already done. The hard, annoying part is already out of the way. So that also saves you time. So it's a little bit time consuming up front. So perhaps on a Sunday, put on a podcast, put on music, put on a show on your computer next to you, something like that to keep you distracted and busy. But then you do the dishes, you wipe everything up, you clean the kitchen, and you're done. And then come Monday morning, everything's ready to go. It's so much easier this way. So I also like to say for meal prepping that you make things in bulk. So for example, if you're going to make quinoa and you think you're going to have quinoa for a bunch of different dishes throughout the week, make it in, I call it batch cooking. So you want to batch cook your quinoa. So, make it for, say 5 meals, right? And then you'll put it in that Tupperware and then it's in the fridge. It's ready to go. You just have to heat it up and that's it. And you can do the same thing for pretty much everything that you're going to make later in the week. So it makes it really simple. So usually what a week looks like for me is I'm making a batch of quinoa, a batch of lentils. I'll make, or I'll chop up all of my vegetables that I want to have cold. So like peppers, cucumbers, carrots, those things are cold and I can just keep those. Other things that I'm going to roast or saute later on, you can still do that. So your zucchinis, your eggplants, your broccoli, your cauliflower, it just saves time, and you just quickly do it all together. I would say give yourself maybe an hour or two each Sunday or each whatever day makes, sense for you. And then it's done and everything is ready to go. So when I'm ready to go make my quinoa stir fry with chicken, I've got my quinoa already cooked. I've got my eggplant and mushrooms and zucchini and whatever else already chopped up. I've got my chicken already prepared, taken out of the package in Tupperware, ready to go. I just have to do some seasoning, throw it all together, done. Easy, easy, easy. And that's what saves time. And then again, you make it in bulk, right? So you make it for multiple meals. And of course, this will depend on how many people you're cooking for, how many people live with you, who's eating what you're eating. And going back to tip 1, which is you don't have to eat what your quarantine buddy is eating, but maybe they want to eat what you're eating, right? So just being sure that you have enough so the next day you don't have to go back to the drawing board and do it again. Also, you want to make sure when you are grocery shopping that you're making enough or you're buying enough for the whole week, right? I say like a week to 10 days is how long your groceries should be able to last you. Produce can go much longer than people think. Certainly your grains can stay good, for at least a week once they're cooked. So I would say your lentils, your farro, your rice, your quinoa, those can all stay. Pastas certainly too. Pastas are an easier thing, obviously, to make in the moment, but they can stretch. They can go a long way. So, don't just go throw things out because you think that they're turning. Make sure that you're planning ahead so that you can know that you're going to be able to eat them and they won't go bad and you won't waste them. So a bonus tip. So those are my top 5 tips, but I cannot leave you without my bonus tip, which is my favorite thing to talk about, which is water. So water is super important to add into any type of health routine. So in order to stay healthy, keep flushing your system out, making sure you're not dehydrated, especially as we head into summer, you must drink water. So everyone thinks, they think 2 things. They either think they drink enough and they're fine, or they know that they don't drink enough, but it's just not part of their routine and they don't know how to, change it up. So here are my couple of water tips. So the first is the way to know how much water you should be getting every day. It's take how much you weigh, cut that number in half, and that's the number of ounces that you want to drink a day. So if you weigh 100 pounds, you want to drink 50 ounces of water a day. Seems like a lot, probably. And when you start to, all of you maybe are doing this number in your head, when you start to think about the number, you think, wow, I'm severely drinking less than I should be. And that's all of us, right? Me too. I don't always hit my number every day, but it's striving towards it that will get you increasing that amount tenfold. Because my guess is if you're supposed to drink 50 ounces, you're maybe drinking 20, 25 without even paying attention or realizing it. So this way you can start to creep it up to 30 ounces, 40 ounces, and then get to that 50. You are going to see a tremendous difference in your energy levels, in your skin, in your hunger pangs. So if you feel like you're someone who gets cravings, who needs snacks a lot, there could be other things going on. Potentially you're not eating enough at your mealtime, but I would venture to guess many of you will find that it's actually your body is thirsty and not hungry. And if you drink enough water, you will end up not having those cravings and not needing to eat as much between meals. And I do promote snacks, actually. I'm not a person that says 3 meals and no snacks, but only if you really need them. And if you feel like your body is hungry for the right reasons, not necessarily the wrong reasons. So what I tend to do is I'll get a water bottle. I always have something with me. So this is my Swell bottle. This is 16 ounces. So I know how many of these I need to drink per day in order to reach my goal. So it just makes it really easy. So what I recommend for people, either get a water bottle that you like, that's gonna, feel good for you to carry around and hold. This is super easy. I have a top I can throw on when I'm on the go. Easy for me to keep it at home. Or take a measuring cup and take the glasses that you typically drink water out of at home and just, fill it up to see how many ounces that glass holds. Is it 8 ounces, 10, 12? Every glass is slightly different. Then you'll know how many 12-ounce glasses do I need to reach my daily water intake goal for the day. So just giving yourself easy ways to manage drinking more water, and the results, I promise you, will be significant for you. You really will notice a lot of change for something really simple and something that we all know, right? We all are told to drink more water. We know we should, but we either just don't or we're drinking other things. So think about what you're drinking instead. Are you drinking soda or juice or tons of coffee? Where can you sneak more water in so that you're not, you can still have those things, even though I could do a whole webinar about sugary drinks, but we don't have enough time for that. But perhaps it's not as much about eliminating those things as it is about adding in enough water and enough hydration for your body. So just think about that as you tend to start to increase a little bit what you want to drink out of so that you really can have enough. So I want to just end on this this meme. There's so many good memes that are going around the internet these days, but I like this one. I live in New York, so big Cuomo fan here, but love this. I'm going to get flat abs during quarantine, but really the curve appears to be heightening, not flattening. We can't make a little joke about coronavirus, I guess, we can't all be so crying about it all the time, right? So here's a funny little meme about it, but the truth is it doesn't have to be like that, right? You can have the expectations of getting flat abs during quarantine if you just treat your body the right way. And if you just do a couple of things each day to try to move yourself forward in your health, in your nutrition and wellness, that's how you're going to do it. So that's it. I'm just going to put this slide up here to end it. So this is where you can find me if you want more information on any nutrition tips or anything, Facebook, Instagram, my website, and you can certainly email me if you want to chat further. So thank you so much. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Great. Thank you, Tracey. I do have a few questions here.
Great.
So in the Q&A, there's a question about, do you have a favorite brand or product to use for food storage after you meal prep?
So I don't have a specific brand, but what I really like is to get glass Tupperware. Because especially if you're someone who does use the microwave or, plastics are just not great, unfortunately, for reasons that I'm sure you guys all know. But I really do like glass. I think that's really helpful. Sometimes the tops are plastic, but that's okay. But if the body of the Tupperware is glass, the only thing to note is if you're going places, or especially after quarantine, if you're taking it with you to work or to somewhere, they are a little bit heavier. So just noting that. But while you're home, we're just getting used to the weight a little bit, but I definitely recommend glass. So you could go on Amazon and just type in, glass Tupperware, and you'll find, and I would get all different sizes because that's helpful too, to, certain things you would want bigger and certain, things you just need for smaller Tupperware.
Great. And along the same lines, when you talked about meal prep and doing some grains in batches and vegetables, produce stay longer than you may think. Do
Mhm.
you have one maybe easy recipe for someone that's just trying to get started with meal prep?
Sure. So I have a favorite recipe. I don't know if there's a way that is there a way I can get it to you that you can send out to people? Is that
Sure, I can
possible?
do that.
I can tell you about it now, but it's a couple of extra ingredients. But essentially, my favorite quinoa recipe that I think is really simple and healthy and flavorful, especially in the spring, is just regular quinoa. And by the way, there's no difference between white, red, or multicolor. It's really just the colors. So no worries on that. You can buy any kind. And I chop up zucchini and yellow squash into lots of pieces. Sorry if you hear a little screaming. My nephew is in the background here. But chop those up. I can also chop up some asparagus and saute them just with olive oil, salt, pepper. You add that into the quinoa. On its own, that would be delicious. But the second part that I think is great is sort of the dressing, which is just a little basil lemon dressing. So I can certainly send you that recipe if it's possible for you to send it out. But just chopping up, any vegetables that you like, those happen to be really nice spring vegetables. Just saute them in a pan until they're a little bit soft. You can also put them in the oven also, but sauteing is super easy. So yeah.
Great. That's helpful to get started.
Yeah.
And right now, there's a trend a little bit with intermittent fasting. And
Yes.
the question is, do you recommend that? Is it something that is advisable?
Yeah. So great question. I say intermittent fasting is for certain people. It's not for everyone. It takes a true commitment. And I don't mean that, you may not be the committed type, right? You still might be a committed person, but you have to look at your lifestyle. Are you someone that has social commitments at night, has a lot during the day that you need to commit to in terms of, because it's all about time frame, right? Intermittent fasting, for those that may not know, it's you're eating at certain windows throughout the day, and then you're not eating or drinking, other than water, anything else. And so you need to sort of look at your lifestyle a little bit to make sure that it's something that you can work with and comply with to properly do it. So I like to say it's sort of a non-answer answer, but it's a case by case. So in some ways, I think it can be great for people. In other ways, I've seen people do it, but it just doesn't work for their lifestyle. And then it can be disappointing, like the way a lot of diets are. So we don't have, again, enough time to get into this today, but I am not a believer in traditional diets. It's, creating the right diet and lifestyle that works for you. So in some cases, intermittent fasting may work. It's certainly worth a try if you've been curious about it and, you think that your lifestyle may work, in that way, that it might comply and fit into that bucket of time. But I have to also know more about you as a person and, if I think it makes sense for what your goals are, what you're trying to achieve. So kind of a non-answer answer. I hope that was helpful though.
No, that's helpful. And then I have one final question here. So right now, like you said, maybe less than usual, people are ordering out takeout. But when folks do get takeout now or later, are there tips or easy ways to identify maybe what's the best thing on the menu to order?
Yes. So I would always try to go for things without, and again, I could talk about this topic much longer, but the quick answer is salad dressings and sauces typically have hidden sugars in them. So even if you think you're getting a big salad, if you're getting a dressing like a ranch or a Caesar or even a vinaigrette, unfortunately that could be filled with sugar and other things that aren't good for you. So you want to look for things that are a little plainer, even though it's not as fun, as exciting. Getting like, a chicken paillard or like a piece, roasted chicken with, vegetables or like simple things. And then at home, you could always, make it a little more fun. For example, like get the Caesar dressing from Primal Kitchen, order that brand and then just get a plain salad and add your own dressing. So that's an option too. But just trying to stay away from things with lots of sauces and lots of dressings. That's sort of the quick answer to that. And staying with things that are a little more simple, a vegetable, a grain, and then maybe an animal protein that's sort of simple. Piece of fish, something like that.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
those are all the questions I have here. So I don't know if there's anything you want to say before we close out.
Well, I'm just thank you all for being here. If you have any questions, you can reach me at anywhere here that you see. Email's easiest, and I'll get that the fastest. But if anyone's looking for support or any accountability or anything like that, I do work with clients one-on-one. So if you had any, real need for that, I'm certainly available. Otherwise, you can follow me on Instagram and watch my health journey. And if you have any questions there, you can always DM me there too.
Great. Thank you, Tracey. I know that I learned some things today, so it's great to have you with us. It's always wonderful to welcome our alums back, especially to speak to other alums. I know in this case, university alum versus law alum, but it's all wonderful that we can share knowledge across the table. So I appreciate that. Yeah. And just a note to our alums to keep an eye out for upcoming webinars. And if you need anything, feel free to reach out to the alumni office with any questions or concerns. We're here for you, and we hope that you stay connected. And so I hope that you stay healthy in these upcoming weeks, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Megan. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Tracey.